It's August 22nd, 1911 in Paris. A quiet morning inside the iconic Louvre Museum as it's the museum's weekly closure day. No visitors. Only museum and maintenance staff roam its grand halls today. Painter Louis Barrault makes his way to the area of the museum where one of Leonardo da Vinci's greatest masterpieces is displayed. He's here to copy the Mona Lisa. He starts to unpack his brushes and turns to face the world's most famous smile, when he notices something's wrong. The Mona Lisa is not there. The empty space on the wall stares back at him. No golden frame, no enigmatic smile. Just 4 iron pegs where the Mona Lisa should be. His heart pounds. Has it been moved? He rushes to find the section head of the guards, who dismisses his concern, assuming the painting's being photographed for marketing. But when Barrault checks with the museum's section head, the truth hits like a thunderclap. The Mona Lisa isn't with the photographers. But where is it? No one knows. By the time the museum realizes what's happened, the thief is gone, vanished into the streets of Paris with Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece in his hands. The Mona Lisa is undoubtedly the most famous and recognized painting in the world. It's a global cultural icon and one of the most parodied works of art. Although the Mona Lisa is undoubtedly good art, till the beginning of the 20th century, it wasn't even the most famous painting in the Louvre. It was an artwork that hung modestly on a wall among other Renaissance artworks, barely noticed by the public. In fact, it took a full 28 hours after its theft for someone to realize that it was missing. Still, it was a masterpiece, painted by none other than the Renaissance genius Leonardo da Vinci. The Louvre had seen thefts before, small artifacts, minor paintings, but never something like this. A priceless masterpiece had vanished. As the minutes stretched into hours, panic set in. The Louvre was locked down. The staff scrambled to search every corridor, every storage room, every dark corner where the Mona Lisa could have been misplaced. Nothing. And outside, somewhere in the streets of Paris, the thief walked free, carrying the Mona Lisa under his arm. So how did someone steal the world's most famous painting right out of the Louvre? The answer was as simple as it was shocking. He walked in and took it. The man who stole the Mona Lisa, Vincenzo Peruggia, was an Italian immigrant who had moved to Paris in 1908 in search of work. He was hired as a handyman at the Louvre, where one of his jobs was constructing glass cases to protect valuable artworks. This job gave him access to the museum, an intimate knowledge of its layout, and, most importantly, the expertise to dismantle the protective casings in minutes. On August 21st, the day before Barrault discovered the theft, at around 7 in the morning, Peruggia entered the Louvre through the employee's door, wearing one of the white smocks that museum employees customarily wore, making himself indistinguishable from the other workers. The Louvre of 1911 was a far cry from the tightly secured fortress it is today. Security was minimal, and the staff often left maintenance workers unsupervised. Since the museum was closed that day, the Louvre was nearly empty, and only 12 guards were on duty. Although he had stopped working there 8 months earlier, Peruggia was familiar with its layout, so he went straight to the area where the Mona Lisa hung. Finding no one there, he simply lifted the painting off the wall. He attempted to leave through a nearby service staircase, but there was a problem. The door was locked. Taking apart the doorknob proved useless. The door remained shut. After dismantling its protective casing in the staircase, he covered the painting with this smock and walked out of the museum the same way he came in. And just like that, Peruggia slipped out. He took the painting back to his apartment, where he successfully hid it in a false bottom trunk. But while she lay hidden, the world outside descended into a frenzy. The theft of the Mona Lisa dominated headlines worldwide. Newspapers ran sensational stories, and the investigators frantically searched for clues. Ironically, the painting's disappearance attracted more attention than it had ever received before. Thousands of people flocked to the museum, not to admire the art, but to gape at the empty space where the Mona Lisa had once been. The museum had to be shut down to the public for a week. The list of suspects was drawn and interrogation started. Even Pablo Picasso was questioned as a suspect. Authorities launched an international search, scouring ocean liners and even ships far away in New York in an attempt to recover the stolen masterpiece. Police officers interviewed every permanent and temporary staff member. Peruggia was also issued notice, but when he failed to show up twice, police visited Peruggia's apartment, where the Mona Lisa was hidden. Peruggia was questioned, but it was determined that a low-ranking employee like him couldn't have masterminded the theft. In a moment of dramatic irony, the detective actually wrote his report while leaning on the very table beneath which the Mona Lisa was hidden. Despite all their efforts, the police and museum staff were unable to locate the painting. The Mona Lisa had vanished. After keeping the painting hidden in his apartment for 2 years, Peruggia returned to Italy with it by train in 1913. He kept it in his apartment in Florence for some time. Peruggia eventually grew impatient, and using the alias Leonardo V, he contacted Alfredo Geri, a Florence art dealer, claiming he wanted to return the Mona Lisa to its rightful homeland. He offered to sell the painting for 500,000 lire. Geri arranged for experts at the Uffizi Gallery in Florence to authenticate the artwork. As soon as they confirmed it was the real Mona Lisa, Peruggia was arrested. During his trial, he insisted that his actions were patriotic, that the Mona Lisa belonged in Italy, not France, and that it was his patriotic duty to return the artwork to his homeland. Many Italians saw him as a hero, and he was given just 1 year in prison, reduced to 8 months after an appeal. But was patriotism his real motivation? Some say Peruggia stole the painting simply for money and even attempted to sell it in London. Others claim he felt discriminated against by the French and took it as revenge. Was Peruggia a misguided patriot or simply an opportunist? Regardless of his true intent, one thing is certain. His crime turned the Mona Lisa into something far greater than just a painting. He turned Mona Lisa into a global sensation. Once the painting was recovered, it toured Italy before making its triumphant return to the Louvre. By then, many French people had come to regard the work as a national treasure that they had lost and recovered. Even bigger crowds came to see her when she was recovered 2 years later, with more than 100,000 people viewing her at the Louvre in the first 2 days. The theft and subsequent recovery generated unprecedented publicity for the painting. Before its theft, the Mona Lisa was simply another Renaissance masterpiece, but after its return to the Louvre, it was no longer just a painting. It was a symbol of mystery, intrigue, and international fascination. The theft had elevated its status beyond that of any other artwork. Vincenzo Peruggia's crime, whether born of patriotism, love, revenge, or greed, achieved what no amount of publicity ever could. It made the Mona Lisa a legend. Was Peruggia a criminal or a patriot? Let us know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating stories. As always, thanks for watching.